My name is Mia Grove. I know an Asian face with the Germany last name, which is funny. When I was little, I moved home to orphanage, home to circus, and then ending up in adoption. People often ask me, where you come from? I honestly have no answer, because I don't even know where I came from. I only know that I am who I am. I never went to the school before I came to United States. My goal and my only goal is to finish the college. And now I'm here. I'm a third-year biomed photo student. Honestly, it doesn't matter what kind of major I'm in. I just want a college degree so bad that I can chase after my dream. When I first came to college, a lot of people making fun of my Chinese accent, and I still remember the first biomed class. Nobody wanted to partner up with me because I cannot explain things clearly and I don't do good at most of the project. After the first quarter, and I dropped out. I took a leave of absence because it was too overwhelming and there is too much work, that more than I expecting. Come to RIT is a big jump of my life, because before RIT, I never know how to use a computer. I never know how to use a Photoshop. I never know what is Lightroom. And all those kind of technology that I don't even know, and I don't even have a clue that what they're talking about. After I came back from my leave of absence, I hired a lot of tutors to help me to learn their Lightroom, to learn Photoshop. I work every day and I practice every day to become better. Every time I ask for some help from the classmates, they're always like, you don't know this thing? Oh my God, how can you make it to RIT? And I'm just like, yep, I make it. Besides my classwork, I also work full-time in catering. I also work in academic support center. And then on top of that, I try to get my citizenship. College isn't like a high school. In high school, I just study a little bit while I study, so I get 95. And in college, I study like 4 to 6 hours, and I failed the test and felt miserably, like 65, 55. And I was like, I study, but I don't know what's wrong with it. You need to study before the class, and you also need to do study after the class, so you get the concept of what you're learning. It's not the memorization part, like high school. I learned it in hard way, but still I make it through. I consider myself as an entrepreneur because I just started my own business, Surely Bee Honey, and I have my own website. I really like to do business nowadays more than the finish school, but I know I always have to finish school because if you don't finish school, you don't have a choice to make your life better. And that will be always my goal, to finish college.
I had known this guy for 8 years, and we dated for over 2 years. Before he went into the Air Force, he gave me a promise ring. I wore his class ring on a necklace, and I wore all the, sappy, I'm an Air Force girlfriend t-shirts. And that year, over the long winter break, I finally had the opportunity to travel by myself to go visit him at Air Force Base in Florida, and we had a great time. And my last day there, he told me that he had cheated on me. I'm a very loyal person, and it's really, really hurtful when someone breaks their trust with me. About a month later, my family got a phone call that my grandmother had suffered a severe stroke. And that same night, my 15-year-old dog collapsed and wasn't able to get up again. That night I slept on the floor with my dog, holding her paw, trying to comfort her. So after my dog was put down, a few days later, we got the call that my grandmother had passed away. I was really mentally dead at that time. I just been through so much trauma in such a short amount of time that I almost didn't know how to handle myself. At school, I would be really happy and, bubbly as usual, but I would go home and I was, locked up in my room, crying and constantly having these thoughts running through my mind of like, why was this person so unfaithful to me after, several years of friendship and loyalty, and why did my grandmother have to die? Why did my dog have to die? And so there was a time where I just really wasn't doing so well. But that summer, I made the decision to work on myself and, to help me get out of this funk. So I went out dancing, I went to cultural festivals, found out that I had a really rockin' taste in music. And I also had a really great year of training for my cross-country running season. Since I had all that anger and sadness built up, it was good to not only help me feel stronger physically by running, but to also work on myself mentally, because I could just run, and if I was angry and I was letting these thoughts overwhelm me, I would just run faster, or I'd have someone to run with to, talk it out. A friend told me that if I ever had a sad thought, or I thought of a moment that made me sad, my friend told me to recognize I was thinking about it, kind of go through the whole memory and then kind of let it fly away. And it sounds really cheesy, but it really did work, because I was able to slowly let all these thoughts that were just constantly going through my mind, making it difficult to sleep and just even function. Eventually I got to the point where I wasn't thinking all these thoughts all the time, and I would celebrate those moments. I would be like, oh, I didn't think about my ex-boyfriend today. Hey me, good job. I really miss my dog, I really miss my grandmother, and I'm like, yes, but I know that they're in a better place now. And so I was really able to find out how strong I really am through that whole tragic situation. But the good thing is that I realized that I wasn't going to be sad forever. At the moment in that time, I thought, how could I ever get over all of this? But just really working at it and telling myself it was going to be okay and that I can be happy.